Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. This is Jeff with Fluent American, and we are here once more to target your pronunciation. At the top of the screen in the chat box, you guys should see this link where you can go to send in your own audio files. Okay, you can also find that link as well in the video details page. And if you're watching this in the replay, you can also in a future stream do the same thing. This link never changes. You can send in your own audio and we'll be happy to look at it in our next stream. We're going to be analyzing two sentences today. The first one you can see here. This isn't that big of a deal, is it? And the second one, did you want the milk or the avocados? So lots of great sounds here. Let's see who's here. Denny's checking in. Manuel's checking in. Howdy, howdy. Look, I haven't used howdy in a long time. Fun fact, we used to actually live in Texas for a couple years, and we did not, you don't hear howdy as often as you would think in Texas. Just a fun fact for you. But I hope you guys are doing well. Thank you for spending some time with us on your Saturday. I know you have many language options, many options to do with your weekend, so it's great to spend some time with you. Let's go right into it. Hello to Prabhat. Great to see you. Hello to Shok. Great to see you here as well. Let's go right into it with our first sentence. So we're going to see that this has a tag question, right? So we see that is it at the end. So I'm going to be very curious to see if you guys are using rising intonation, like is it, or falling intonation, like is it. Both of those can be right, but it does change the meaning, which we'll talk more about in a moment. So if I were just going to say this sentence normally, I would probably say something like, this isn't that big of a deal, is it? This isn't that big of a deal, is it? So I would actually probably put the stress on that, like that big. It's not that big of a deal. But some other places where you could also put stress and it could still sound pretty natural. You could put the stress on deal. That's an option too. So isn't that big of a deal. And I would say those are probably the two main places where you were going to hear stress. And then lastly, like the is it? So you're probably going to get a little bit of stress on it. So those would be the places where I would expect to put stress. So again, that or deal or it. Other things that are going on, some tricky things with pronunciation. Well, first, we have a lot of short I sounds, which is one of our favorites. There's a good chance that your first language does not have a short I sound. Not all languages do. And it's this I sound. We see it on this, isn't, big, is again, and it. So lots of sounds. Okay. And you want to make sure you're not pronouncing those like long I's, like E. Okay. So question, the I sounds are back with a vengeance. They're angry, trying to get you. Denny, we'll take a look at the stress on isn't in a moment. But yeah, that's the big thing to watch out for here. I think is the short I sounds we'll really be listening for. So you don't want to say like these easy. You want to make sure you're saying this isn't. And you don't want to say is it. If you want to say is it. Okay, so the short I's. If you're not sure how to make this sound, you're like, what is a short I? The sides of your tongue, you want to make some contact with your top teeth. Okay, so you want some contact there. It's almost like you're biting the sides of your tongue, but very gently. No blood. That's our motto. Fluent American. No blood. Change of pronunciation, but no blood. So don't bite hard. Very back of your tongue down. The very front of your tongue is also down a little bit. And the front of your tongue can be up slightly, though. It's like, Notice that your mouth can also be a little bit open, right? And you can see my mouth shape with my tongue. Again, sides of my tongue really expanding wide. And the very tip of my tongue down, but the front a little bit raised. And of course, placement. I can't do a pronunciation video without talking about placement. You want to make sure you're projecting this from low in your throat. It's very relaxed. Again, like So again, it's not E, it's more And if you find that you're getting like an E sound, one exercise that you can do is you can start with it high and then see if you can lower it. It's like So what am I doing? I'm sending it lower into my throat. I'm also opening my throat up more. I want as much air to go through my throat as possible. And that's just going to allow me to get more of that resonance. If you're feeling this sound, this sound, if you're feeling it in your head or your skull or your jaw or your teeth, like E. Like if I do that, like anything like that, even kind of like back here, not quite right. You should really only feel it down low in the throat, very resonant, like eh, eh. Okay. So that's kind of something to pay attention to for the placement. Okay. Oh, Ibrahim's checking in. Take some time off from coding and German and his podcast. He has a podcast out, guys. If you're looking for some good life tips, check out his podcast. For Ibrahim, great to see you. So we'll be listening to your short I sounds. Denny asked a question about the stress again. So he asks us, could we stress the word isn't? And let's take a look at our sentence again. This isn't that big of a deal. This isn't that big of a deal, is it? I think if you didn't have the tag question, if you didn't have that is it at the end, I think that's perfectly reasonable. This isn't that big of a deal. Like if you're trying to emphasize or comfort someone, like maybe they made a mistake, but you're trying to comfort them, you're like, it's okay. This isn't that big a deal. This isn't that big of a deal. I think that would totally make sense. But I think with the tag question, the is it, that's expressing uncertainty. If you have a rising intonation, or kind of just like confirmation if it's falling. Probably not so likely to put the stress on isn't. This isn't that big of a deal, is it? I guess you could do it that way, especially if you have falling intonation. Like this isn't that big of a deal, is it? But then you would probably also stress is again in your tag question. So possible, yeah, in the right context, anything's possible. But I think in the majority of contexts where you would see a sentence like this, probably a little bit less likely. Okay. Um, Yep, and Manuel's hitting the nail on the head. Also makes a mention too that when he makes the like saying sit often becomes like set. And that is a super common point of confusion. A lot of people are having that issue as well when they're making short I sounds, they turn them into S sounds. So the thing you want to watch out for, it's not E and it's also not eh. It's really eh, eh. Okay, so that's definitely a very common point of confusion. So I would just say, hey, watch out for those, because that is a common thing. To separate, like if you want to say, for instance, sit, but you don't want to say set. So again, we can type those, just make sure we're clear. So if you want to make sure that you're saying sit and not set, it's like se versus se, se. You notice that for se, your mouth can be a little bit more closed, whereas for sit, for the short I, you can open your mouth a little bit more. Some other things there. When you're saying set, you're trying to get your tongue to take up a lot of space in your mouth. So you're usually raising the back, you're raising the middle, and you're raising the front of your tongue. Because just a note about that. And I know I have a video that takes a look at like that I versus that eh sound. I'm going to try to find it without being too distracting. Actually, the video that we played, the trailer for this video, can be helpful for that. But a similar exercise video, I'm also going to put in the chat. If you're looking for some more practice, you can also check out this video. It'll be good for listening practice as well for that. Okay, but yeah, sit versus set can certainly be a point of confusion there. I hope that helps a little bit with those points. Other pronunciation things that you want to watch out for, that with the ah sound, it's like cat, ah, ah. Notice that again, my mouth is relatively wide, right? Ah, ah. And all you can see is my big fat tongue, right? Ah, ah. And that's good. You want to raise that middle of your tongue. You shouldn't be able to see back into your throat very easily because the middle of your tongue's rising. Ah, ah. And also you can't see the tip of my tongue because the tip of my tongue is down here. So I'm holding the front of my tongue down against the bottom of my mouth. Corners of your lips, so like right here and right here, you want them to be a little bit tense, pulling a little bit. Ah, ah. Other things as well, again, placement, low in the throat and relaxed. So ah. What I see a lot of students doing is like eh, eh. It's like, for instance, a word like black often becomes blick for a lot of people, but again, it's not blick, it's black. Ah, ah sound. Okay, so just some notes with that. Other pronunciation things too. Deal. So we have the long I sound, D. And again, when you're saying that long I was working with a student on this about an hour ago, a little over. So that D sound, long I, E, E. Most likely in your language, you're probably pronouncing a little higher, probably doing more E, E, whereas in American English, it's more E, E. Okay, same sound, but different placement because I'm trying to get that low in the throat, lots of air coming through. Okay. And because this long I sound is considered a long vowel, and by the way, long vowel, short vowel, it doesn't have anything to do with length. They're both held for the same amount of time. It's just a name. It's just a name that they've been given. Okay, so a long I and a short I, you want to say them for the same amount of time. But one thing about long vowels is that when they link with the letter L, they're going to break into two parts. So it's not deal, it's deal, deal. Okay, so you hear that sound, deal, or like feel, feel, or like real, real. Okay, so just some quick notes about that. We'll be paying attention to that, how people are saying deal. Okay. I think those are the main vowel sounds and things that we're seeing. Let's talk a little bit about linking. It's going to be a decent amount of linking here. This isn't. So notice that S on this is going to attach onto that I and isn't. It's like this isn't. This isn't. Isn't that we're going to link together. So that NT on isn't probably going to be held. Isn't. So instead of isn't, you're probably going to hear more isn't. And then going to link into that. It's like isn't that. Isn't that. Same thing with that big. Probably going to get held T on that last T on that. So instead of that big, it's more that big. Big of a. You're probably going to get some linking and some reductions there. Big of a. So that instead of saying big of a, so you can get that linking there. Some of those reductions. Big of a. And then that last part is it. So again, that S on is actually sounds more like a Z. And then linking with it. It's like, is it? Is it? By the way, guys, if you're enjoying things so far, be sure to like the stream. And if you know other people that would be interested in it, sure, share with a friend. That's how I would say that first sentence. Like this isn't that big of a deal, is it? This isn't that big of a deal, is it? Let's talk a little bit. And Emmanuel, if that answers your question, or if it doesn't answer your question, let me know, and I'll be happy to talk more about that. But how about our second sentence for my people going grocery shopping? Do you want the milk or the avocados? Do you want the milk or the avocados? So that's personally how I would say that. You have some contrastive stress, so that's going to be probably the main thing in terms of stress patterns. You're probably going to stress milk, and notice how we're saying milk, and you're also probably going to stress avocados. Do you want the milk or the avocados? And in terms of intonation, there, of course, milk, rising intonation for the first part of your contrastive stress in a question, and then avocados, falling intonation. It's the end of your contrastive stress in the question. Okay. Pronunciation things for this sentence. So again, did with the short I sound. The did you want is going to be interesting to hear because there's so many different ways you could say that. You could say did you want? Actually, honestly, like did you want? That's probably the least common way to hear that. A more common way would be did you want? Did you want? So notice that when you have a D sound that's followed by a strong like U, oftentimes it's going to become more like a J sounds like instead of did you, it becomes did you, okay? Did you? A lot of times though, you, because it's not stressed, is probably going to get reduced. So instead of did you, probably going to become did ya, okay? So did you want? Did you want? Both of those are fine. Another way you may hear it said though, pretty commonly, like "j want," "j." It's like instead of "did you," it often just comes like "j," "j," "j want," "j want." "Do you want the milk?" "Do you want the milk?" Okay. Other pronunciation things are going on. Want is going to have the ah sound, just a note, like in, for instance, like stop. Okay. Ah, really open your mouth wide and keep your tongue low. Ah, want. The milk tends to be a tricky word for whatever reason. So short I sound, meh, mill, milk. I think doing progressions like that can be helpful with tricky words. So like for instance, il, mil, milk. Again, il, mil, milk. Do the progression. Find out if this is a hard word for you to say. Try to find out what part is making it difficult. Is it the I sound? Or maybe it's more of that ill, going from that short I to that L sound. Okay, things like that. Just break it up into smaller parts. Find out what is making it harder for you. Okay. Do you want the milk or the avocados? Um, Avocados. You get lots of reductions here, right? So like instead like avo, a lot of times it gets reduced like ava, the schwa sound. So you can't say avocados, but a lot of times ava. It's like ava schwa sound, like in done or was ava, and then cados, cados. That D in avocados is super light and super fast, more of like a flap T, fast D sound. Um, Lastly, that ending of avocados, um, you have this O sound, right? Oh, oh. Okay, so again, low in the throat and relax. It's not oh. It's more oh, oh. What's the difference? I'm opening up my throat more so more air can come through. Oh. And then lastly, that S is going to be voiced. So it's going to have a slight Z sound like Z, Z. So it's not avocados, it's avocados. Okay, just a note. And you may hear some regional differences on that word too, but in general, you're going to hear avocados. So two fun food vocab words, milk and avocados, tend to be somewhat tricky words to say. We talked about the linking for did you want? Did you want? Okay. Did you want the milk or the avocados? A good reduction cluster to practice would be the milk or the milk or the milk or the. It's like you hear that milk or the milk or the milk or the avocados, milk or the avocados. So a lot of times it's not common to hear or. Typically it's going to get reduced just to like an type sound, just like an R pretty much attached to it. Okay, do you want the milk or the avocados? Heavier stress on avocados. All right, but those are just my own thoughts on how I would say those sentences. But you don't care how I say it. You care how you say it. You want to know if you're saying these right or not. So we're going to, if you're just joining us right now, we're going to listen to your pronunciation files. You're going to see again at the top of the chat box a link where you can send them. Okay, and on the document you'll see all kinds of instructions to guide you. Okay, so we can listen to your actual audio. And again, if you're checking on the replay, then you can also, this link never changes. So if you want to send some files in a future live stream, you can go to the same link. Okay. All right. Make sure I'm seeing everything. Rumeza's in the house. Thanks for checking in again, miss. And we have a thing here from Emmanuel. I heard some natives say big a deal. Oh, talking about that first sentence. Let's just take a quick look at that first. That big a deal. Yeah, so instead that big a deal. You could say big a deal instead of big of a deal. That big of a deal. That's certainly another option. Yep. Lots and lots of options and reductions. It's hard to cover every single one of them. There are many ways to say the same exact thing. All right. So again, enough about me. I think it's time to talk about what we all came for. Let me add myself there, right? Again, it's not little, it's more little.
The G host was class.
Are you feeling that here, or here? All right, so we're now going to listen to your files. You're going to see me put on my headphones so that way I can hear you and you guys will hear it as well because I will share my audio. And of course, as we go through this, I'll have the chat open. So if you guys have questions about anything you're hearing, you can be sure to let me know. Zubaida has also let us know that she has checked in. Good evening to you, miss. And let's take a listen to your files. My other screen is very far away from me today. Okay. Appreciate it, Denny. I love that we got that laugh from our singer friend. All right, let's take a listen to this. Oh, I don't think I shared. Look at me. I'm all eager to get started. And you guys are like, what is he listening to? Saturdays. Okay. Let me bring myself in here. Yes. Okay. All right. So again, let's take a listen to our first one. Yeah, exactly. Anything you send me can be used in future videos. It's a scary thought. Let's take a listen to this.
Did you want the milk or the avocados?
Okay. We'll play back our sentence. So she's saying this one. Take a listen.
Did you want the milk?
Did you want them? Very careful, very paced, I'll say. Did you want? I think that did you want is okay.
Did you want the milk?
Did you? I'm here to want.
Did you want
Versus want. I feel like it could be just a little bit more relaxed. It was like want versus want. Did you want?
Did you want the milk?
Yeah, I probably would have reduced it more because it's probably not going to be your stressed word either. Your stress is probably going to be on milk.
Did you want the milk?
Watch out again for that short I too on milk. So it's not milk. It's more milk. Milk. We actually have a video that looks at short I and long I comparisons. If you type in I don't know, short I, long I on the channel, or like short I plus L, that video should come up because again, it's the difference between ill versus eel. Okay, so it's not milk, it's more milk.
Want the milk?
Because hopefully that makes it clear. Because again, you want milk.
Want the milk or the avocados?
Or the avocados. Or the avocados.
Milk or the avocados?
Avocados for avocados. Maybe would have made that just a touch stronger, actually.
Or the avocados. Milk or the
Avocados. I'd maybe make that ah sound just slightly reduced, just a touch. I don't think this is a big deal. Just my own personal style. I probably would have just done just really light avocados. Avocados.
Or the avocados.
Avocados. Avocados.
Or the avocados.
Yeah, I think it'd be very nitpicky.
Or the avocados.
Or the avocados. Avocados. Maybe a sharper. I maybe would have used a slightly sharper intonation, sharper fall. Or the avocados. So maybe a sharper fall on the avocados. I don't think it's a big deal. I think the major things I would say take a look at would be milk.
Did you want the milk?
Yep. I would say major things probably milk. And for want, instead of dragging out that want. We'll just want. Did you want the milk? Did you want the milk? I think you could have gone just a little bit lighter on that. But in general, I think this sounds pretty good. I thought you got the intonation pretty well. I would say you could play around with linking and reductions even more because right now it's very clear. It says it has a very steady pace. But in conversations, you may want to actually say that maybe slightly faster.
Did you want the milk or the avocados?
Okay, so those would be kind of the big things. Did you want the milk? Do you want the milk or the avocados? Even just trying to say it, do you want the milk? Just seeing how that changes the sentence for you. But in general, I think it sounds pretty good. Thank you so much for sending that. I cannot do this without you guys. Take a listen to our second file here.
Did you want the milk or the avocados?
The milk or the avocados? Do you want the milk or the avocados?
Did you want the milk or the avocados?
Let's do the first half.
Did you want the milk?
Did you want the milk? Did you want the milk? So again, did you want the milk? Did you want the milk? I think you're doing a good job of making sure none of those words is stressed, which is great.
Did you want the milk?
Did you want the? But I do think here to did again.
Did you want?
Did you want? Did you want? Did you want? Did you want?
Did you want the?
I feel like our placement's a little bit high. It's like did you want? Did you want? Versus did you want? Did you want? I feel like your placement could have been just a little bit more, slightly lower and a little bit more open, slightly. Did you want the milk?
Did you want the milk or?
Milk versus milk. Yeah, I think the big thing is placement. I think it's low, but I think it could go even lower. And I think it's relatively open, but I think it could be even more open. It's like, did you want? I said, did you want more? Did you want? Did you want?
Did you want the milk or the avocados?
Avocados. I feel like our V is getting a little bit lost.
The avocados. Milk or the avocado?
I'm here like avo versus avo. and again, usually that that first O will get reduced a bit.
Avocados.
Avo, instead of avo, more avocados.
The avocado.
Again, not necessarily wrong if you say it with an O, avocados. You could do that, but I think it's going to be more common in terms of what you're going to hear, like ava, to reduce that first O sound just a little bit. Avocados.
Did you want the milk? Or
I do like the intonation for that part. Did you want the milk? Did you want the milk? I like that rising intonation again because of our contrastive stress.
the avocados?
Or the avocados? Or the avocados? Or the avocados? You know, I think you're stressing avocados, but typically with contrastive stress, this whatever is the second part of your stress is going to be even heavier than the first. It's like, did you want the milk? So your milk was super clear as your stress,
Did you want the milk or the avocados?
and very sharp in terms of intonation.
Did you want the milk?
Did you want the milk? You know, milk is very clear. It has that milk, very clear intonation there.
Or the avocados?
But then avocados isn't getting that same treatment. And if anything, avocados should get even more than the first word. So instead of avocados, the sentence kind of just dies a little bit. Or the avocados. Did you want the milk or the avocados? I would have gone a little heavier on the, especially avocados. I would have done kind of a heavier fall intonation there and just make it sound a little sharper. Did you want the milk or the avocados? Did you want the milk or the avocados? Did you want the milk or the avocados?
Did you want the milk or the avocados?
Yes, watch out for that V on avocados, and I would try to get that intonation to be a little bit sharper, maybe a heavier fall. Okay. But yeah, those would be my big suggestions there. If anything about that is not clear, be sure to let me know. But Marcos, thank you so much for sending your audio. I cannot do this without you, sir. Moving right along, let's take a look at our third pronunciation file.
This isn't a big of a deal, is it?
Okay, I think I'm hearing some long eye, short eye things. Here's our sentence.
This isn't a big of a deal, is it?
Yeah, I feel like I'm hearing a lot of long eyes. Like this is like this.
This isn't.
This isn't versus this isn't. Again, so compare mine to his. This isn't. This isn't.
This isn't a.
This isn't. This isn't. So again, a little lower, more open. This isn't. Short eye.
Big of a deal, is it?
And you really hear on the like is it versus is it? Is it?
Is it?
Back it up.
Isn't a big of a deal, is it?
Is it versus is it? Again, a little lower on that is. Okay, just a note on that. Is it? So that's going to be my probably my major suggestion for this sentence is that short I sound. I think would be good to continue reviewing.
This isn't a big of a deal, is it?
I like how you said deal.
This isn't a big of a deal.
Deal. Especially that O sound. I like that separation between the E and the O. That's great. That's what you're looking for. That sounds good. The long vowels with linking with an L.
This isn't a big of a deal.
This isn't that big of a deal. You're also putting some stress on this, I feel. Okay. Then he likes a good deal, and that's a good deal. Good job, Marcus. You got a good deal going on. That's great. Let me hear that again.
This isn't a big of a deal.
You're also putting a lot of emphasis on this. You're really stressing this. Like, this isn't that big of a deal. This isn't that big of a deal.
This isn't a big of a deal.
And then you're kind of shifting also some stress on deal. Maybe a little bit much. I would have cut off the stress on this. I don't think you need that stress on this. Okay.
This isn't a big of a deal.
So you're stressing. So aside from this, take the stress off of this. You could make this work with the stress on deal. So like this isn't that big of a deal. This just isn't that big of a deal. Which can work. This isn't that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal. This isn't that big of a deal. Isn't that big of a deal. And that's perfectly fine. I think you could put the stress on deal. I would have liked to have heard this without that stress on this because I think that would have changed how I'm hearing it a bit. But yeah, this can work with stress on deal. Let's hear that tag question.
This isn't a big of a deal, is it?
Is it versus is it? Is it? I liked your rising intonation.
Big of a deal, is it?
Is it? Is it? And so again, using rising intonation there, that's perfectly fine. What that suggests is surprise. Like I didn't think it was a big deal, but maybe it is. I don't know anymore. Is it? Is it? So that's kind of what you get when you have that rising intonation, like it. Okay.
The big of a deal, is it?
Yeah, and I think the big thing, I think the long I sounds again kind of interfering a bit with the sound. It's like is it versus is it. So I think that's the big thing. So take off the stress on this. And watch out for those long I sounds. Long I versus short I. Okay, those would be my big suggestions for this. But Marcos, thank you so much for sending this one as well. I do appreciate it. Okay. Denny says that they also like your intonation on Dio. Yeah, I think the Dio is okay. I don't have an issue with that.
This isn't a big of a deal.
Dio, it's interesting because for Dio, I actually like. I think your placement there is actually really good. So it sounds really open to me. Again, lots of air. I like that.
Big of a deal.
Dio, and I think this naturally had that bit of a fall. I think that's good. All right, moving right along. Let's see who we have next up.
Hey, did you want the milk or the avocados?
Can Denny, I believe it's you. Let's take a look. So we got milk and avocados going on. And by the way, guys, if you're just checking in, welcome. If you want me to take a look at your pronunciation file, you can go to this document here at the top of the chat. You can also find it again in the lesson, the video details. You'll have that link as well. The instructions will be in the document. Let's take a listen to this sentence.
Hey, did you want the milk or the avocados?
I think that first half I like a little bit more than the second half. It's like up to milk. I think it sounded pretty good.
Hey, did you want the milk or
did you want the milk? Did you want the milk? Did you want the milk?
Did you want the milk or
I would like to hear milk again.
did you want the milk or
milk versus milk? I think milk is sounding a little bit tense. Like milk versus milk. Milk.
Want the milk or
milk. Hear the difference there. Just a little bit lower, a little bit more air through the throat. Okay, but it's not bad. Did you want the milk?
Hey, did you want the milk or
did you want the? Did you want? And again, for the did you want?
Did you want the milk?
Did you want the? Did you want the? Did you want the? Did you want the? A little heavy. It's like did you want the? Did you want the?
Did you want the milk?
Did you want the? Did you want the? Versus did you want the? I would have kept everything maybe. It feels like very punchy. Like you're really kind of forcing it. Like, did you want the? Did you want the? Versus, did you want the? Did you want the? Did you want the? Again, so I'll just keep it a lot weaker. Don't feel like you have to like force the air out super hard. Okay, it's very light. Do you want the? Especially because it's reduced. There's no stress word here. Okay, it's not. Did you want that? It's more, do you want the milk? Did you want the milk? Did you want the milk? Just very light, just releasing the air. So I do think it could be a little bit softer there, but I do think you're getting the right stresses. I think you're getting the right linking. I like what you're doing with the did you. I like that linking there. I think it's very natural. Kind of see here. I was trying to be totally relaxed and natural here and keep it low. Keep in mind the comment in the last video. Yeah. I mean, I hear what you're doing. I think in general the placement isn't bad. I would just say it doesn't have to be quite so punchy. I would go even lighter.
Did you want the milk or the avocados?
Or the avocados. Or the avocados. I want to hear avocados again.
Milk or the avocados?
Avocado. A little bit lighter on the ka.
Avocados.
It's avocados. Your ka sounds like it's kind of getting stuck up around here as opposed to ka. Cados. I think it could be a little bit more air through on the ka and those. Cados.
Avocados.
It's avocados. More cados. Okay, see if you can hear the difference between mine and yours there.
Hey, did you want the milk or the avocados?
In terms of intonation, I think you're doing great. I think you got the pattern right. I think you got the right stress words. Milk, avocados, good. Intonation, you got to contrast the stress. These are all important things. Everything else I'm saying is kind of just how to make it sound even more natural if you want to take it a step further. But yeah, just go a little bit lighter. Some of those could just have a little bit more air through. Okay. But yep, Denny, thanks so much for sending that, man. Hope that makes sense. If you have any questions about those comments, be sure to let me know. But thank you. Take a listen to our next file.
This isn't that big of a deal, is it?
And then we have our very low turn on your subwoofers.
This isn't that big of a deal, is it?
Lots of resonance here. Okay, thank you, Denny. We'll hear it again. And we'll shift to again the sentence we were looking at for this one. This isn't that big of a deal. Okay. And if you're just joining us and you want to have an idea, how would I say this sentence or what do I suggest? Definitely take a look at the beginning of the stream where I show how to pronounce this.
This isn't that big of a deal, is it?
Isn't that big of a deal?
This isn't that big of a deal.
I hear that short on isn't.
This isn't that.
This isn't. This isn't. This isn't.
This isn't that big.
I feel like I'm getting a very slight long I sound. Like this isn't versus this isn't. So even just a touch lower on isn't. This isn't.
This isn't that big of a deal, is it?
Deal sounds very tense and high. Deal. Do you hear that? Deal. Deal.
A deal is.
Deal versus deal. Deal. Now this could be because of two things. It could be that your long I sound is a little bit tense and high. So you're getting like D. So that certainly is one possibility. The other possibility could be that your placement is high on that dark L sound. That sound. Where again, front of your tongue is down hard and back of your tongue is raised up a bit. It's like deal. So instead of deal, more deal. Okay. So one way you can kind of check if you're not sure which part is getting a little tenser and higher, you can break it small parts. You could do like deal, 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 or deal. Kind of just breaking it up into smaller parts like that and kind of seeing what's going on. So I think that will help. Okay. Yeah, because something there is sounding tense. I don't know if it's the E or the L or both. Could be both. Could be everything. Everything's tense.
This isn't that big of a deal, is it?
Is it? Is it? I like that. Is it? Like kind of like fall rise. Fall rise. Is it? Is it? Okay.
Deal, is it?
Is it? I like that intonation pattern. Very helpful intonation pattern. Really common. It's a nice way to. It's an intonation pattern that fall rise is a really quick way to make things sound a little friendlier, and things like that. So I do think
This isn't that big of a deal, is it?
Yeah. By far, the biggest thing I could recommend for this sentence is deal, because I think that L is just too tense. That's going to be the immediate thing that stands out. I mean, just listen to this.
This isn't that big of a deal, is it?
Because it's going to make the sentence, it's going to stand out so much because it feels a lot tenser than everything around it. Because that's definitely going to be my big suggestion there. But thank you for sending that audio. I do appreciate it. Lots of good things there. If you have other questions about anything, be sure to let me know. But again, I can't do this without you. And I saw Denny sent me some updates and things. Yeah, really quick thing, use the dark L on deal. Yep. Yeah, again, when you have words that are ending on L sounds, that's kind of your clue that you want to use a dark L. Again, like level, trouble, deal. Okay, dark L sounds at the end, really key. Okay. Real easy way to make yourself sound more natural. And we have an update. I need to make a trailer for like a Denny update. Little update though, since I dropped the thing I used to contract the muscles in the throat and used to get my chest sore. Okay, yeah, so he's talking about in the past, trying to lower his placement led to chest pain and throat pain. Oh no, that's never a good thing. But now he's feeling his throat open more and it's feeling more relaxed and there's more breath going around. Breath for everyone. That's great. Come on, Denny. That's great. I'm glad to hear that, man. Yeah. Because that breath, make sure enough air is coming through the throat. That's always the key thing. That's great. And it's making that TH sound easier. Yeah, that TH sound. Because again, when you're making those THs, those of you making TH sounds like or the, one thing you'll notice is that my tongue is not between my teeth. Let me make myself a little bigger. Give me one sec. It's like or the. Notice that my tongue is not sticking in between my teeth. I'm not doing like or the. You can make THs that way, but it's not necessary. Just a little bit of contact with your top front tooth. That's all you need. Keep the air flowing. You don't want it to become like a t. You don't want it to become like a d. you also want to have control. Okay, so you should be able, in theory, to hold a TH sound for like 3 seconds, like or like that should be relatively easy. And if it's not, then that could be a sign that it's a sound that's worth reviewing a little bit more. Those THs, because they can make sentences sound a lot less natural. So practicing your THs, practice your THs. That's all you learn today, aside from like short I sounds. Practice those. All right, but you guys don't want to see me. You want to see your audio. That's right. You want to see audio. Synesthesia, I think this goes called.
Did you want the milk or the avocados?
Oh, did you hear that dramatic pause in the middle? Do you want the milk or the avocado? Like, I love that that pause.
Did you want the milk?
So I guess since we have this pause, let's break down this first part.
Did you want the milk?
Did you want the milk? Did you want the milk? I think this actually looks pretty good. Bring up the sentence for you so you can see that. Let's play that again.
Did you want the milk?
Did you, a little bit of a long I sound on your did. It's like did versus did. So I'll just say, hey, maybe just get that a little bit lower in the throat, a little bit more instead of e. So it's not d, just more did.
Did you want the milk?
Did you? I'd also say, hey, you can also reduce that you. You know, you don't have to say did you. You could say did you, or did ya. I would say play around with those reductions, because very often you does not stay you. Very often you becomes ya. Did you want the milk? Did you? It's like I would be curious to see how that would have changed this sentence. Did you want the milk? I said did you or did you?
Did you want the milk?
I like milk. Milk might be the strongest. It's probably the hardest word in this sequence, but it's probably the I really like how you're saying it. It's probably the strongest word that I'm hearing right now.
Did you want the milk?
The milk, good. I really like that. Really like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. In terms of the pause, did you want the milk? Because there's no milk left. It's gone. We're gonna have to buy more. We're gonna go to the store.
Milk or the avocados?
Or the avocados. Or the avocados.
Or the avocados.
Or the, it's like, or the
avocado.
Or the
avocados.
There's nothing wrong with saying or the, but both of these words honestly are probably gonna get reduced. Okay, so instead of or the, or the, do you hear the difference between or the and or the, and I'm all about reductions. There's nothing wrong if you say or the, there's nothing wrong with that. It's perfectly fine. Okay. But if you're interested in applying more reductions to your own speech, then you're probably more likely to hear or the milk or the milk or the, hear that. Compare mine to hers. Milk or the
avocado.
Do that. Milk or the so just one thing to consider practicing.
Or the avocados.
Or the avocados. Let me hear avocados again.
Or the avocados. Or the avocados.
Avocado. You know, there certainly are different regions of the U.S. that maybe would pronounce that a little bit more nasally, a little higher, like ka, as opposed to ka. But I would say you could have gotten that a little bit more open. Cados instead of cados, more cados. Could have been a little bit more open, a little bit more air. Okay, but not necessarily wrong. You know, there may be people that do pronounce it that way.
Or the avocados.
Okay, but I would say avocados. But that's just me. Do you. We have to do you. Okay, I'm gonna play that one more time. Did you want the milk? Did you want the milk or the avocados?
Did you want the milk or the avocados?
I love that pause. It's so dramatic. Yeah, so those would be my thoughts for you there. If you have any comments or questions about that, be sure to let me know. But thank you so much for sharing your audio. It's always great to hear. And again, I cannot do this without you. By the way, guys, if you are just joining us, and first of all, if you're liking what you're hearing, be sure to like the stream, share it with a friend. But also, if you want to get your own audio analyzed, we still have some time. So you can go to this document. I've included it at the top of the chat box. If you don't see it there, you can also look at the video description, and you're going to see these instructions. Go to this random Google Doc link that I received, and you'll be able to go there. Oh no, I see that. I may have made a typo. You're going to see between sharing and that there's no space, so that could lead to some issues. So hopefully that doesn't. So just if you're trying to use that link, just make sure there's a space between the G on sharing and that and. Just a note. But it would be great to see your audio file. And again, we use that same link every week. So if you're watching it in the replay and you want to send in your audio files, that link is still going to be good. All right, let's take a listen to our next one. And I need a water break. Guys, you need to tell me to drink water. Otherwise, I'm gonna kill myself on screen. That'd be horrible. You don't want to see that. Gotta drink.
This isn't that big of a deal, is it?
Ooh, very punchy. Could be an actress. This isn't that big of a deal, is it? Like I like that little that pause with is it? It's great.
This isn't that big of a deal, is it?
So we put a lot of stress on isn't. But certainly it's possible. This isn't that big of a deal, is it? And we talked about this earlier, Emmanuel. I think it was you that said it. If you have a falling intonation on the is it, then it is certainly possible to put that stress on isn't. Yeah. And of course he likes this because this is his suggestion. That's good. But let's take a listen to this.
This isn't that big of a deal.
I like this. I really like this. Give me some attitude. You're giving me some spunk. I like that. I like attitude.
This isn't that big of a deal.
That big of a. I want to hear the big of a.
This isn't that big of a deal.
Big of a. Probably could have done a little bit more short eye on big. It's not big of a deal. It's more big of a deal. That big of a deal.
This isn't that big of a deal.
Yeah, so I do think occasionally some of your short I sounds are very slightly turning into long I sounds. So just kind of continue to watch that a little bit. It could be a little more. Isn't that big of a deal? This isn't that big of a deal. This isn't that big of a deal.
This isn't that big of a deal.
Because I feel like I'm hearing isn't versus isn't, and I'm feeling big versus big. I'm slightly exaggerating it, but see if you can notice that. And if you can't, that's okay too. Just means that, hey, I would suggest listening to more minimal pairs, listening to some exercises that compare short I and long I sounds a little bit more. But not a big deal. I think most native speakers probably wouldn't even notice.
This isn't that big of a deal, is it?
Is it versus is it? Is it? Intonation is great. Really punchy. Just I think my biggest suggestion for this sentence is just going to be a little bit on short I and long I's. But intonation I really like. Let's do linking really quick.
This isn't that big of a deal.
That big of a. I like the big of a. I like that linking there.
Is it?
Is it? Is it? I like that linking the Z onto the it. I think that sounds good. Like your stresses, think those work. And also conveying emotion, super great. This does not feel like you're reading it just from a page. This sounds like actually using it real life, and I think you certainly could. So great job on that. Sounds really natural to me in that way. Yeah, thanks for sharing this audio as well. All right. Now, before we take a look at our next one, Denny is reminding me again that I need to stay hydrated, folks. I need to stay hydrated. So I'm going to take a quick water break. But again, a quick reminder for you too, though, that if you're liking this, if you are like, hey, this is actually kind of helpful. I want to get help like this every day. I want constant or repeated practice and exposure suggestions for my own pronunciation. Again, we have a Telegram group for that. And here's just a quick example.
Eel, please. I think your O sounds are a little bit tense. I'm getting a lot of O. Take off the T on center.
So again, every day in the pronunciation group, that's pretty much what we do. We kind of like we do today. I give you some words to say. I give you some feedback on pronunciation, intonation, linking, stress, and things like that. Placement, all these recurring themes. So that's something that interests you. Take a look at patreon.com/fluentamerican. I'll post that link as well. Denny asks the question, Jeff, can I say guy? I can say guy. Guy. I. That's actually so, if you can say the word, the letter, if you can say the letter I, then you can also say guy because you're just adding a G in front of it. Guy. I, guy. Again, low in the throat, relax, lots of resonance, right? So it's not I, it's I. Okay. Yeah, guy. Denny, is that? I hope that helps. We have a. Oh, is there Schwab? It is a diphthong, so that I sound is a diphthong. So you will get a little bit of movement. But again, like I always say, I'm always kind of hesitant to tell my students that, oh, this is a diphthong or it's not, because people then exaggerate. They go crazy. They're like, so if I say, oh, it's a diphthong, people are like, oh, got it. It's like, and like things like that. And it's not like that. You don't need to exaggerate it. Come on, people. Come on. It's more I, guy. I would not say that there's a schwa sound. There's a little bit too much going on with your tongue and your mouth. You know, schwa sound would be more but it's not. That doesn't really enter. It's just guy, I. The mid back of your tongue's a little bit high. You can actually hold the front of your tongue down. I. And then as you get towards the end of the sound, your mouth closes very slightly. Don't be too dramatic with it. Guy. Okay. Yeah. So I always get nervous with those diphthongs, man. You tell people one thing and they take it like a million ways. I used to be a director at a language center. You always have to be careful what you tell people, because you tell your teachers like, oh yeah, you can totally do this, and then they do like something that's like 1,000 times more crazier than that. It's like you always got to be careful with people. If you're in management, let me know, because you probably understand. All right, let's take a look at our next one. I'm gonna share me screen in my audio, if you guys want to hear yourselves. Okay, and we're back, and I'm back in the corner. Let's take a listen to this.
Did you want the milk or the avocados? Did you want the milk or the avocados?
Your quad is always like, it's just like really low and relaxed. Like everything's like super resonant. Take it.
Did you want the milk or
Did you want the? You know, I would again suggest playing around with some of those reductions, like do you want the, just to kind of see how that changes your sentence a bit. Do you want the?
Did you want the milk?
Because like, did you want the? That's a lot of words, right? Did you want the? Versus do you want the?
Did you want the milk?
And if you don't want to do that full reduction of like, do you want it? If you don't want to do that, do you want to? If you don't like that, try also just then reducing you. So instead, did you want? Just trying that, because it also may also help with the flow a little bit more as well. Did you want? I said, did you want? Did you want
the milk or
milk versus milk? Could be just a little bit more open. Milk, so not milk, more milk.
you want the milk or
the
avocados?
Avo versus ava. Typically, you're going to get reduction on that second syllable. So like instead of avo, more ava.
The avocados.
Avo becomes ava. Avocados.
Avocados.
Versus cados. Again, on the O sound as well at the end, cados. Probably just be a little bit more open and a little bit more relaxed. Okay. Cados. Do you want the milk or the avocados?
Did you want the milk or the avocados?
Ovo. You probably also want for
Avocados.
because I'm here ovo
Or the avocado.
or do ovo more avo. I would just open up a little bit more on that first syllable for that a in avocados, so more or the avo. That's or the ovo, because that's those are my big suggestions there. Again, I would say this as, do you want the milk or the avocados?
Did you want the milk or the avocados?
And again, you could also reduce the instead of or the, you could do the
Or the avocado.
into or the more erda. Just note on some place where you could do some reductions. Okay. I do hope that's helpful. If you have some questions and things, be sure to let me know. I totally get it. There's always that balance, right? That's the joys of pronunciation. It's that fine line between not doing enough versus doing too much. That's the joy. That's the joy. It's a love-hate relationship, I imagine. But thank you for sending that. Take a listen to our next one.
It's not that big of a deal, is it?
So, Ben, I think this is you. Kind of a decent amount of background noise here.
It's not that big of a deal, is it?
Okay.
Isn't that
This season, a little bit of long eyes on your I sounds. Let's see if you can try to get those to be a little bit more short I if you can.
isn't that
It's like this versus this. I'll just practice saying the, is, this isn't. So again, this isn't. I'll just kind of practice those combinations in loop. Just kind of practice again, lowering that short I sound.
isn't that big of a deal, is it?
That big of a, very strong on big.
That big of a
That big, do you hear it really kind of pops? This isn't that big. That big.
isn't that big of a
That big of a, and that's not necessarily wrong, but I do think that it's certainly making it stand out more. I probably would have gone a little lighter on the B, so it doesn't have to be that forced. So that big of a, more that big of a. And remember, another reason for this too is that English again is paying more attention to vowel sounds and consonant sounds, and so when you have that B that's super strong, it's kind of, I think in some ways it kind of catches your listener off guard because again they're listening subconsciously more for vowels.
big of a deal, is it? Isn't that big of a deal, is it?
Big. This isn't
Isn't that big of a deal, is it?
big of a deal. This isn't that big of a deal, is it? I really like the intonation on "is it." I think that's super clear.
Isn't that big of a deal,
Deal. I like deal too. I like that eel sound.
of a deal, is
Deal. It's like deal and then fall rise again. Great intonation pattern there. I really like it. I think it sounds pretty clear. Yeah. So my big suggestions are going to be again short I sounds, just a touch because I think sometimes they're almost getting into that long I territory. We want to keep it more short I, more again, I would for big weaken that B a little bit, get that vowel sound standing out a little bit more. Those would be probably my big comments here. But again, this isn't that big of a deal, is it? Play again.
isn't that big of a deal, is it?
Yeah, those would be my big suggestions there. But thank you so much for sending that file. As always great to hear from you. I can't do this without you. Last one from our original group. Oh, we question from anyone. Can you make another workout video on common English phrases? Cool. Common phrases. Is there a specific, like for any like daily use kind of thing? Again, so not questions, but maybe just like daily phrases. Okay. I was actually thinking of our next topic. Yeah, that could be something that we could take a look at. I'm not opposed to it. If you have other workout videos that you guys would like to see, be sure to let me know. If there's a topic you'd like to see more in depth. Lots of repetition, lots of practice. All right, daily use. Okay, I keep that in mind. Let's do our last file here.
This isn't that big of a deal, is it?
Oh wow, that was super fast. Just you stop listening for 1 second and it's gone.
This isn't that big of a deal, is it?
I would have. I know we talked about like dramatic pauses for some people. This is in some ways it's kind of the opposite. There's no pause. This just doesn't happen. I probably would have, with tag questions, especially like for instance, like is it and things like that, you're probably gonna have a slightly longer pause between the tag question and the sentence that comes before it. I think that would have been helpful.
This isn't that big of a deal, is it?
Deal, is it? I mean, I guess you're kind of doing it. What you're doing instead of like a pause, what you're doing is you are lengthening deal. Deal, is it? Deal, is it? And that certainly can work. Let me hear it again.
This isn't that big of a deal, is it?
Yeah, the more I hear it, more I'm okay with it. Okay, so it's just kind of something to consider for tag questions. You could have a pause there. If you're not going to have a pause, then yeah, I think doing something that you're doing, like lengthening your vowel a little bit longer, can work.
This isn't that big of a deal, is it? This isn't that big of a deal, is it?
Mm-hmm.
This isn't that big of
This
a
isn't. I feel like I'm getting like this isn't versus this isn't. So I do feel like kind of similar things we've said for a lot of people. Short I, long I. I feel like I'm getting kind of a lot of long I here, where again you want a little bit more short I. So like this isn't versus this isn't.
This isn't that big of a deal, is it?
Very tense also in the tag question, like
Deal, is it?
Is it versus is it? Using more of a held T sound on that it. So again, typically when you have a T that ends a word, usually that T is not going to be pronounced. Usually it's going to be held among other options. Okay. So let's say t, I would do is it, would become is it, Get the difference between is it and is it. Okay, so I would suggest holding that T a little bit.
Is it?
Okay. Part of the reason for that again is English is paying attention to vowel sounds, and when you have that T pronounced, you're taking the focus off of the vowel and onto the consonant.
This isn't that big of a deal, is it?
Yeah, but that aside, in terms of linking,
This isn't that.
this isn't. I like that.
This isn't that big of a deal.
Big of a deal. I like the big of a too. I think that linking there is sounding pretty good too. Okay, so my biggest suggestion again would be short I sounds. Consider a pause between your main sentence and your tag question, although again, it's not entirely necessary. I think your strategy for lengthening the vowel before it definitely makes sense and can work. And also held T sounds, especially for that it. Especially because hey, it's the last word of your sentence. What are the most important parts of a sentence? Probably the beginning and probably the end. So it's just like when you're reading a book or anything like that. The first thing you hear and the last thing you hear tend to be the most important things and things you remember. So you don't want to make that it. That T on it can be a little bit distracting. Okay. Yeah, I hope that is helpful and makes sense. Thank you so much for sending this audio. All right. Give me a moment. I'm going to check and see if there's new files that I have not seen yet. I see we have... Where did I leave off? We got one from Sophia. We got one from Alex checking in. Cool. Oh, wow. Sophia. Oh, you guys are going to like this. I really like this. And this one. Both very dramatic. These next two are very dramatic, but in different ways. And so we'll talk about that. I really like them. And then there's a couple other special files that I will send for you guys as well. But if you're watching this and you're scared, you're afraid, you're like, I don't want to share my audio. Well, you don't have to. But in the future, well, first of all, now there is time. I still have a little bit of time where I can review your audio. So if you're feeling more courageous, you're hearing all these other people, maybe you're even like, I can speak English better than these people. I can speak English better than Jeff and things like that. Go for it. Send us an audio file. Let's listen to it. I'd be happy to hear it. But if now is not the best time, but in the future it is, again, save the document, add in a file for next time. Because again, it's the save link. It's the same link week in, week out. So it'd be great to hear you in the future. Regardless of whether you send us pronunciation files or not, I hope you're learning something about American English pronunciation. I know occasionally native speakers watch this too, and they're like, "Oh, this is actually fun. I never thought about the language I speak." Something else to consider. But there is still a little bit of time in case you want to send files. But let me. People are always asking him, is it him? I love that he has a name. It's him. Is it him? Is our great singer back? Is our Lord and Savior? Is he back among us? I can't say yes. I can't say no. We will find out. But before we even get to those though, let's take a listen to these. But before that, I had to click water break. Stay hydrated, people. It's very easy to not. I definitely don't drink enough water. Okay. Hello, Angel. Or is it Angel? It's great to have you. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Okay. Let us move on. I forget which one we're starting with. Let's see. This one?
This isn't that big of a deal, is it?
Okay. Very dramatic. Let's see. It's for this sentence here. All right, let's listen to that again.
This isn't that big of a deal, is it?
Okay. Watch out again for dark L's, like on deal.
That big of a deal.
Sounds like you're saying deal. So it sounds to me like the front of your tongue is making contact up here. Okay. Make sure that when you're saying deal, do the opposite. Keep the front of your tongue down. Raise the back of your tongue. Oh, Oh, someone said deal or deal. Oh, lots of air coming through, right? Deal. Let's listen to that again.
This isn't.
This isn't.
This isn't.
This. I feel like your is sound on this is a little different than your is sound on isn't.
This isn't.
This isn't. I like the one on isn't a little bit more. I would try to apply that same sound onto this. This isn't. The is. This isn't. Okay, it's that sort of combination.
This isn't that big of a deal.
This isn't.
This isn't that big of a deal.
Maybe a little bit on big, short I sound again. It's not big, it's more big.
Is it?
I didn't mean to press that.
This isn't.
I would also probably eliminate this pause here. It's not entirely necessary. This isn't that. I would have gone right from isn't into that.
This isn't that big of a deal.
I like the big of a. In terms of the linking, I think it sounds good.
This isn't that big of a deal.
Actually, I actually kind of linked it more like big of. I would just practice that a little bit more. I like the of a, but the big feels slightly detached. I would link that more. Big of a, big of a, big of a. Say it really fast. Big of a, big of a, big of a. That big of a deal. Okay, so again, it's in terms of linking, what you're gonna hear, how people talk again. Big of a, big of a. That's kind of how people are talking. Big of a, big of a. And if you just hear it by itself, people are like, "What did you say?" Big of a, big of a. People are like, "What is that?" But if you say that big of a deal, that big of a deal, people are like, "Oh, I know what you're saying. That big of a deal." You know, so when you're doing these linking and reductions, they're entirely dependent on the words around them. Because if you just hear it by itself, people are gonna be like, "What are you saying?" Big of a, what is that? That big of a deal. Now people know what you're saying. Okay. So I would practice that a little bit.
Big of a deal. Is it?
Is it? Really? Let me hear that. Is it again?
Is it?
Is it? The short eyes there are great. I really like your short eyes there. I would try to get that same sound you're doing on that part to the short eyes elsewhere. It's like the this isn't, or even the big. You know, I would try to get those words to have the same sound that you just did on is it. So we know you can get the sound because I think that sounds great. Just want to apply it more consistently.
Is it?
Is it? Great. Yeah, really. That's probably the strongest part of the sentence. That sounds really good. Yeah, those would be my my big suggestions there. If anything isn't clear about those, be sure to let me know. But thank you so much for sending the audio. All right, and let's listen to this one. And we got another one as well. I'll have to check that in a moment. Give me a sec.
This isn't that big of a deal, is it?
That big, it really flows.
This isn't that big of a deal, is it?
Yeah. So again, I think this is the only person that's kind of done distress the way I probably wouldn't. Like, this isn't that big of a deal, is it? Like putting a stress on that. And that's a pretty common strategy. Like, it's not that fun or it's not that cold and things like that. It's common when you have that before an adjective to kind of give the stress to kind of give it a little bit more extra emphasis.
This isn't that big of a deal, is it?
This isn't that.
This isn't that big.
I maybe would have liked a little bit more th. Like, isn't that, like, instead of that, I'm hearing that more the getting a little bit more of that vibration, right? The versus the more the. And again, it's not. There are people that speak this way, you know. So it's you know, do decide what's best for you. But I would say slightly more standard would be pronouncing that th with a clear like the. Like, isn't that big? Isn't that big?
This isn't that big of a deal, is it?
I like that. What was I gonna say? I like that the this. I think a lot of people tend to overstress the this. You know, it's the first word of the sentence. It has that th. It's a word that's very easy to put stress on, but I don't think you're doing it, and I think that's great.
This isn't that big of a deal.
It just rides into this isn't that big of a deal. This isn't that big of a deal. So I really like what you're doing there, keeping it relatively flat and reduced up until that. That's it. I like your strategy there.
This isn't that big of a deal, is it? This isn't that big of a deal, is it?
Big of a deal. Big of a deal.
This isn't that big of a deal, is it?
Deal. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Deal.
Isn't that big of a deal, is it?
Is it?
Big of a deal, is it?
Is it?
Big of a deal, is it? Big
Is
of a deal, is it?
Yeah, I was trying to see if like short eye, long eyes, but I think John sounds okay. Yeah, I really like I like what's going on here. I think it sounds pretty good. Yeah, I wish I could be more helpful, but I like that. I think it sounds good. But if you have other questions and things, be sure to let me know. All right, I'm gonna give you guys back a screen. I need to take a look at another audio file that came in. I want you guys to listen to things that are inappropriate. You know, all kinds of things can happen. We've got Adam and Ada. Okay, thank you, Adam, for sending that. And Ada checking in. It's Adam and Adam, I think. I thought I'm thinking these are the same person. I was expecting like a female voice, and it definitely was not. But that's okay. We like surprises. I think it's supposed to be Adam. Okay. So Adam, thank you for sending these files. They are safe. I've protected you guys. Thank me later. Let's take a listen to these. Oh, whoops. Oh, they showed the long one. Look at my disorganized desktop. When I'm connected to another screen, and every time I connect it, it makes everything really jumbled. So I promise I'm more organized than what you just saw. I promise. Please don't judge me on my desktop. Okay. Thank you, Sophia. Keep sending us files. Please do. Let's take a listen to this first one. Is this Adam or Ada? Also Adam.
This isn't that big of a deal, is it?
That big of a deal. You're giving me a lot of stresses.
This isn't that big of a deal, is it?
So I think you're doing a lot of good things. In general, I like your placement.
This isn't that big of a deal, is it?
Yeah, I really like it. You could, especially here on the is it, like lots of breath, very open. Like, is it? Like, I really like the is it?
Is it?
Is it? Is it? Is it? Yeah, good. Lots of breath there. The thing though is that you're giving me lots of stresses.
This isn't that big of a deal, is it?
So like you're disrupting the rhythm a little bit. Okay, so that's I would cut down on your stresses. Okay, I have to address this. I saw you in my dream last night. What was it a good thing or a bad thing? This could go a million different directions. I was even going to say, you don't even know what I look like, but then obviously
this isn't that big of a deal, is it? This isn't that big of a deal, is it?
Because you're kind of giving me so where are you breaking this up? You're breaking it up on
this isn't
pause
that big of a deal.
That big of a deal. This isn't that big of a deal.
Is it?
Is it? Okay. I would cut off that first break.
This isn't that big of a deal, is it? This isn't that big of a deal.
I would also take off this isn't that big of a deal. So you're stressing that, but you're also stressing but you're also stressing deal. You're stressing that, but you're stressing deal.
This isn't that big of a deal.
That big of a deal. I probably wouldn't stress deal. If you're gonna stress that, I probably wouldn't stress deal. This isn't that big of a deal.
This isn't that big of a deal.
I'd also take the stress off of this. Like you said, this isn't that big of a deal.
This isn't that big of a deal, is it?
Yeah, but it sounds really good. Yeah, so I think you just have too many stresses. I would play around with that. Try just stressing that and see how that sounds. You can also try saying it was just a stress on that and also deal and see how that sounds. But the one stress you really need to get rid of, I would really recommend getting rid of the stress on this. Try to weaken that a bit. This isn't that big of a deal. Would be my big suggestions there. But thank you for sending that. I hope that's helpful. Lots of good things. I really like your placement. Take a look at our next one. Is that for me or is that for our friend? You were teaching my family English. Was I doing okay or not okay? Was I chased out of the house or was I invited to stay longer? That's usually the sign that you can tell if someone likes your teaching or not. Let's take a listen to this one.
Did you want the milk or the avocados?
Want the milk?
Did you want the milk?
Kind of dragging out milk. Like milk. Did you want the milk? Versus did you want the milk? So stressed words, yeah, stressed words generally are a little bit longer. That is true, but you don't have to like over exaggerate it. It doesn't need. Did you want the milk? Like you don't need to be like that. It's just. Do you want the milk? Do you want the milk?
Did you want the milk?
I'd also say play around with some of those reductions we mentioned for the did, like the did you. It's like did you want or do you want, things like that, or Joe want. Okay, so lots of reduction options for that first part.
Did you want the milk?
We talked about the milk.
Did you want the milk with the avocados?
Or the avocados. Yeah, so avocados, I think in terms of length, I like that. I think the avocados was entirely appropriate.
The avocados.
Or the avocados. Avocados. You could potentially also raise your pitch a little bit higher on the ka. Avocados instead of avocados. More avocados. Just a very slight rise in the pitch just for your stressed word could be okay. I would consider doing that because right now it sounded a little bit flat.
The avocados.
Yeah.
Did you want the milk with the avocados?
Yeah, because most likely avocados would actually get the heavier stress. In general, with contrasted stress, the second one is the one that gets the heavier force. And I think instead you're kind of putting the heavier stress on milk. So just kind of something to consider there. Okay. Okay, but thank you so much for sending that audio. I appreciate it. Love the late audios. Those are the best. You never know what you're going to get. Okay, a couple of quick things I need to check really quick. See our comments really quick. It says, country music. Denny, you're a country music fan. I liked you, Denny. And then you told me you liked country music. It's all right. I'm not the biggest country music fan, but I won't hate you for that. I know for Christmas when we were driving to visit family, my wife, they have a Spotify playlist. I don't know if my friends here use Spotify, but if you do, they have a Spotify playlist for country Christmas songs. And my wife, of course, was able to find that. So that made up a portion of our drive. That was fun. The dip song, Al sounds like, ew. Yeah, it's probably more of a kind of like a southern, it's kind of more of a southern thing, honestly. I wouldn't say necessarily it's a standard, but it is a feature that some regions may have, honestly. We were learning English with you, but we ended up being in a cult. That's how I describe my job to people, actually. Like, learning English is very cult-like, honestly. I think there's lots of similarities. Oh, God. Oh, God. Madai, Danny. Madai. Sounds like a fun road trip. You guys are... I'm going to end this stream. I'm done. And here I am again. Well, I'm glad I never left. I'm glad I never left. Okay. Last couple things. Just double check to make sure I got everybody. Okay. So I would say at this time, if we have not heard your audio file, it might be a little bit too late for this stream. But in the future, again, save the link because it'll be great to help you. Again, if you want daily pronunciation feedback, just like what we just did today, you can go to patreon.com/fluentamerican and join our Telegram group because we do stuff like this every day. I do have 3 quick files to go through. I think they're safe. I think. Give me a moment to load them up, and then we will be on our way. Wait, that was not the right one. Hang on. We'll do 2 files. Okay, let's see. Sorry, I had to just double check to make sure that these were appropriate. And fortunately, or unfortunately, it's not quite singing. It's not quite singing, but it is something. I think you guys will still recognize our friend. Okay, first one here. That's really the only way to say avocados. Like, avocados. Like, that's pretty much the only way to do it, right? Falsetto. What I will say is that the breath got soup. There was so much air coming through on that. Listen to that asa. Do you hear that at the end? Oh, I forgot to. Oh, man. Oh, you guys are going to be. I didn't share my audio. Don't worry, though. Don't worry. Let me find my mouse. My mouse is wandering. Take two. I'll repeat everything I said. It's going to be great. Thanks for letting me know. Okay, let's play that again.
I'm sorry, sir. Do you want the milk or the avocados?
Do you hear that breath on avocados?
Or the avocados?
Like that breath, like that breath. That's great. That's some low placement, and that's some relaxation for you. So if you're not sure what a relaxed sounds like, that breath on avocados. Now, I'm not saying that you need to say avocados like that,
Or the avocados?
but there is something you can definitely learn from that, if anything. Yes, and it was take two. Okay, and our last one here, a long one.
This isn't that big of a deal, is it?
The is it really comes out of nowhere. I was not expecting the tag question.
Did you want the milk or the avocados?
I don't even know what to say, so I won't say anything at all. That wraps us up. Okay. Always had to end on something, right? All right. So you've just spent potentially an hour, almost an hour and a half with me analyzing American English pronunciation. Thank you guys. I know on Saturdays there are many things happening. You could be with your families. You could be watching like Rachel's English or something, but no, you chose to spend some time with me, and I do appreciate that. It is greatly appreciated. Keep an eye out. Tomorrow's video is going to be a little bit different. I have some research for you guys that I thought was super interesting. And I think that if you are a fan of language apps and things like that, there may be some good news or bad news for you. So keep an eye out for tomorrow's video. If you like the stream, if you know other people that would like the stream as well, please spread the word. Send the word, share it with people, like the video, and things like that, because all those things do help the channel, and I do appreciate it. But yeah, thank you guys so much for your time. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a good day, have a good night, a good afternoon. We will target your pronunciation more later. Take care.